Good evening. This is Dr. Sonia Cunningham Leverett, owner, founder, operator, CEO of Hadassah's Crown Publishing. And we are here with our author interview series. We are interviewing tonight a very special author. Let me turn my camera around so that you can see. This is Liquinita Callaham, and she has joined the interview, so I am going to ask her or let her join our screen in just a moment. But I do want to tell you that we have a lot of exciting things coming up. I will tell you about our interview for next week at the end, but Hadassah's Crown will soon have 50 books on the shelf. And so we are going to have a very big celebration when our 50th book hits the shelf. I will tell you more about it. So let's get our interviewee on the line for this evening so that we can get her started. Hope everyone is having a wonderful week. And, it's just a blessing in these days and time to be alive. So hopefully she is going to join us in just a few minutes. I decided to change my setting. It is so nice outside. There she is. There she
Hi,
is. Hello, how are you?
I'm well. How are you
I'm
doing?
doing well. So you're outside too.
Yes,
Awesome, awesome. Well, I wish we could be on the same porch. That would be
I
phenomenal.
know.
Yes,
I know. I
yes.
know.
I hope
It's
the
real nice out here today.
Yes, it is. And I have three
Yeah.
fans going, but I think that's overkill. I don't think I need all of them. But, just in case, I turn them all on. I have them all going. But I'm excited to be outside. I love being out here. And as I was telling you earlier, outside just does not do me well because all the insects are attracted to me for whatever reason. They like my blood. And so I have a zapper I'm experimenting with. Maybe that will make my life a little bit more pleasurable. But
Well, I
anyway,
hope so.
thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on a live. I'm learning all kind of
Awesome.
technology
Awesome.
tonight.
All right.
Yes.
Well, and we can't get together in person, but technology is wonderful in that we can connect across the miles.
Yes, ma'am.
So, and we have some people who have joined us. It looks like some family members on. So we'll see if they have any questions or if they want to chime in or say anything later. We'll get to that. But let's just
Okay.
get started. If you want to tell us who you are and then tell us about your writing aspiration.
Okay. Well, as she stated earlier, I am Liquinita Callaham. I am from McCormick, South Carolina. I released my first book last year, I think April,
Yes.
Searching for Daddy in the Dark. Um, it is my baby. I'm so proud that I actually got it accomplished. And I just wanted an opportunity to share my story, share my testimony with the world. And so I just started to write it all out. And the next thing I knew, I had a book on my hands.
And that you did. And
Yes.
we'll talk about grandmother's comments and her reaction and feedback in just a little bit. But my
Okay.
reaction was, wow, like you don't find many people who can be as transparent as you were in telling your story.
Yeah.
But it was Maya Angelou who started me to writing and wanting to write and to actually read more than I used to read. It was I
Okay.
Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and her ability to articulate what happened to her, the traumatic experience that she encountered, the effects that that had on her. But later in her books, she even talked about owning a brothel and just all of the things that she did that, a lot of people hide those things. They keep them in the closet. They don't want to talk about,
That's true.
those parts that people can most easily, I guess, criticize and so forth. So I always knew I wanted to write. And it's funny because, people will give me feedback and think that I was too candid in what I wrote and shared. but you were very candid. So can you talk about your decisions and in doing that? And I do want to just say this. I'm going to let you talk in a minute.
Okay.
This is a Christian publishing company, and so when I first wrote, and I wrote for a Christian publishing company, I was told no sex scenes, no profanity, none of that. However, this title I chose and decided to because it's not what happens in the process, it's what comes out in the end. And because the spirit was pulling you away from that the entire time, I said people need this, and that's one of the faults of the church. We're not transparent enough with people, and we don't let them know
Exactly.
that we're real. We make mistakes. We have lots of issues, and sadly, we even have people in our church now that we're dealing with who will say, when I was a sinner. Well, when did you stop being a sinner? We're all sinners. We're sinners every day.
Exactly.
So I'm going to let you talk. You talk
Exactly.
about that.
Um, I didn't intend to be as candid as I was. That was not my original intention.
Mhm.
I had a story in my head. My testimony was in my head, and I was trying to think of the most uh clean, crisp way to write it. I wanted to be able to tell the story without being too crass or without saying things that I shouldn't have said. But during the process of writing the book, me and God had many a conversations, and I would pray because I wanted to make sure that I was telling the story as it happened, that I was telling the story from a perspective of where I was in that moment. And so, with me doing so, it would have caused me to use some language that would not be considered Christianese.
Mhm.
And I remember when I first sent it to you, and you was like, "Okay, can we change?" And I was like, "No," because the reason I didn't want to change anything because it was where I was then. And you made a very good point when you stated earlier, it's the process. It wasn't the end result, it was the process. And I was writing from the point of where I was,
Mhm.
not where I am. And you were just awesome in understanding that. You saw my vision, and once you grasped what I was saying, you took it and you ran with it. And I wanted to make sure that when people were reading the book, that they felt what I felt in that moment, that they could visualize what I was saying in that moment. That was very important to me.
Mhm. And it's
So
powerful. It is
yeah,
because whether it's a sexual addiction or an alcohol addiction, or for me it's a sweet and a carb addiction, but whatever it
hmm,
is, it's like you know better, and you feel like you'll eventually do better, but it's a process. It's like you have to get to the point where you can just completely surrender. And so I like
exactly.
that about it, because like we were saying, you were so very candid. And it's the when you write and release this, it is for you because it's therapeutic. Your story releases
Yes,
you, but at the same
yes,
time, it's to help somebody else. That's the whole purpose of it. The whole purpose.
yes,
Hmm.
yes. And I didn't want to sugarcoat it. I didn't want to sugarcoat anything because sometimes when you speak to someone that struggle with an addiction, or they struggle with a sin, or they got entrapped by something, they try to sugarcoat it
Hmm.
and make it seem that it wasn't as bad as it was, or you know they can't say this or they can't say that in order to not offend anyone. I wasn't concerned about offending anyone
Uh-huh.
because I knew that some people were going to get what they're going to get out of the book. Some people everybody was going to have their own perspective.
Hmm.
I was concerned with completing the task that God laid on my heart.
Hmm.
That was my concern. And I honestly think I did a good job in holding back because I could have been a lot more open. There are a lot of things that there's a lot of things that I would write. I'm like, no, you can't say that. That's too much. No, no, no. So I think I did a good job of saying what I wanted to say,
Hmm.
portraying what I was trying to portray,
Hmm.
and getting down to the point. That was my whole purpose. I really wanted to make sure I did that.
Wow. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. I thought we were on the same page. And I thought you were saying that, you did a good job of, just opening up and letting it all out. I did not know. I had no clue you were holding stuff back. So I'm like, oh my God, what would that have looked like? But we
I
have a
did.
we have a question somewhat from one of the viewers, and I'm going to let you answer this. She says she struggles with the same thing, how she can share her testimony in a clean and Christian way when the events that took place were so dirty and shameful. And it's so interesting because I just got another submission that is from the Sinner's Life, where the young lady was raised as a Christian. She knew better, but because of traumatic situations in her life, she caved in, got into a life that was so different from anything that she knew. It was just a spiral, downward, downward, downward. And then, though, when she got her salvation, it's like, wow. And so, yes, it's going to go through some very unclean, unholy, all of that. But
Yes.
I'm okay with that. And I know I keep talking. I'm going to be quiet so you can answer it. My grandmother, when we used to go to the Greenville Mall when I was a child, every single week, she would go to the Christian store, and there was an author named John Benton, and he wrote about prostitutes, he wrote about pimps, he wrote about drug dealers, all of these people and all of the things that they were doing. But
Yes.
every single story ended in salvation. And my thought is, if anybody's willing to share all of that, what they've lived through, and not worry about, because I mean, God is the ultimate judge. If it's
Yes.
going to help somebody realize that you can't be too sick, you can't be too dirty, you can't be too anything, God can clean you up, and look at how beautiful you can be when it's all said and done. I mean, I truly think that's why we go through things. And it
Exactly. I
doesn't
agree.
matter what you've done and what you've been through. If the end result is salvation and you're saved and on your way to heaven, that's what's important. And that's what we have to share.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree wholeheartedly. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you really did a good job in just answering that question. I feel like if God, your testimony is your story.
Mm-hmm.
No one has the right to tell you that you can't tell your story in the way that you experienced your story. Your story is the one thing that somebody can't take away from you. That's yours.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's dirty, if it's nasty, then tell it,
Mm-hmm.
because that will deliver somebody. It's going to reach somebody. It's going to touch somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I am just like even in awe of some of the phone calls that I've gotten and emails, because I was able to tell my story as it was.
Mm-hmm.
We can't always clean things up for church people. We can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
We can't clean it up so it can be acceptable. That's the problem right now. We're trying to make everything all pretty,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't make it pretty. You have to
Wow.
get to pretty.
Yes.
You have to
Wow.
get to the point of pretty.
Mm-hmm. Wow. If we just had a lesson, if maybe we need to write a book on all the stuff, the social issues, the drama in the Bible. I mean,
Yes.
you think about the adultery. First of all, I mean, I know it was a different time, all the wives and the concubines that they had. But,
Yes.
this is your wife, but you have babies by bam, 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 and bam. And then
Yes.
I mean, there's rape, there's incest, there's adultery, the woman at the well with the 5 husbands, boyfriends, whatever they were.
Yes.
All of that is there. This
It
not
is.
There's nothing new under the sun.
Nothing.
There
You're
is
right.
nothing new. And then you even look at Paul, the way he was persecuting Christians, and the Moses, I mean, he was a murderer. There's just so much that should let us know that there's nothing God can't clean up and can't accept, and that nobody, can criticize anybody, because there but for the grace of God go I. We all are sinners. We all have our baggage, our trash, our ugliness. And again, I do think that if we were more real, if church folk were more real, if church folk weren't so judgmental about what comes in and what is able to stay in the church and everything, then the churches would be more filled.
I agree.
So, mm-hmm.
I agree wholeheartedly.
So
I do.
tell me about your writing process. When did you write? When did you start writing the story? We want to help someone who has a story that they want to share and just give them some tips about how to get it done.
Um, no time is wasted. I want to say that.
Hmm.
Any time that you sit down and write, whether you write 5 minutes, 55 minutes, or 5 hours, it's something written. So don't despise the small beginnings.
Hmm.
I started writing this book years ago.
Hmm.
I mean, years ago. And life would happen, and I would put it away, and I would pick it back up, and I would put it down, and I would put it back up. And that was a thing for a long time. I never really thought I would finish it.
Hmm.
I really didn't. I never thought I would finish it because I was just like, I wasn't dedicated enough. I would say that. And then at sometimes when you would get to certain points when I was writing, it hurt.
Hmm.
Reliving some of those moments hurt.
Hmm.
And I ran from the pain because I didn't want to relive that. And sometimes I would take a week break or a month break or a year break.
Hmm.
Because I can't even, people ask that question so many times. Well, how long did it take? I can't tell you. I don't know.
Hmm.
I really don't know. All I know for sure is around about 2018, I got real serious about getting it done.
Hmm.
Like I gotta finish it because I'm a bit OCD
Hmm.
and I don't like to start stuff and not finish it.
Hmm.
And I didn't even think about it seeing the light of day. I just knew, but I had to finish it.
Wow.
And when I finished it and was able to see it, I'm like, I did it. I wrote it. I wrote it. So yeah, it's a process. It's a process because when you go back in your mind telling your story, you're gonna experience that same pain,
Hmm.
that same hurt, that same disappointment, that same anger, that same frustration, whatever emotion that was triggered at the time of any particular event, it will be born again in you.
Hmm.
It will rebirth. It will pop up again.
Wow.
And so I had to deal with that, and it was hard
Hmm.
because honestly speaking, as I was writing, I thought I was over it. I can write the book now because I'm over it.
Hmm.
It was just the beginning.
Yeah.
That was just the beginning of it.
Hmm.
The writing was the healing. That was the therapy. So just trust the process. Let it take as long as it's going to take, but make sure you write every single day.
Great
One
advice.
word. Yep.
Great
One
advice.
word or 10 every day. Just write something.
All right. Well, I have to give you kudos for that because honestly, of all the pieces I've published, I do think yours was the most detailed. And how you remember all of that, because a lot of times when we experience painful situations, we tend to bury them into our subconscious. But
Yeah.
you didn't hold back on bringing back and rehashing, like I'm sure many, many, many hurtful things, even from childhood. But you said something very important because once you get that out and you release it to the paper, it's like, I mean, it truly helps you put it behind you and heal from it. It really
It does.
does.
It
But
does.
I do admire your patience. It takes a lot of patience to get all of that out and to keep going back to that paper all the time, especially when it hurts. It's so easy just to say, you know what, this, I'm done. I'm done. Why would we
Yeah.
keep going back to something that hurts? But when God
Yeah.
gives us something to do, and we know what we're doing is ultimately going to help other people, it helps us, but we're doing it so that it helps other people, there is going to definitely be a reward in it. And so I do, I think the advice that you've given to the audience is great. Just try to be committed to it, try to get it out every single day, very important. So
Yes.
what do you like about being an author, and what has surprised you most about being an author?
Let's see. I like, I've always loved the way writing feels. It's always been my preferred expression of my emotions and my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a diary since I was a very little girl, and I could write whatever I felt in there. It was a release for me.
Mm-hmm.
Being an author, like sometimes just hearing author is just like, oh my gosh, I'm an author, and it's a great feeling. It really is. I want to write more. I want to create more. It's like sometimes I can't turn my mind off, and sometimes my mind is dead and then nothing is happening in there. But But I love it. I love the freedom of expression. I love being able to control my words and knowing that my words have power. That's awesome. I
That
love it.
that's awesome. Well, tell us about the response. How has Searching for Daddy in the Dark been received? And I can tell you when I did the first press release, there were people who said, "Wow, that there's a lot in that title. That's loaded. Like I want to read that just to figure out what exactly that means."
Um, wow. I just I don't even know how to answer that one. It's like Searching for Daddy in the Dark was um I knew the title before I even wrote my first word. I've heard a lot of people say that they write the book and then they come up with the title.
Mm-hmm.
I I knew the title before I wrote my first word, and I remember I typed it up and I printed it out and I put it on my wall.
Mm-hmm.
And I would look at it. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And for me, Searching for Daddy in the Dark simply means this. As I looked back over my life and different things that I had experienced and different things that had happened, I always realized that I was searching for something. And I was searching for it, not really knowing what it was that I was looking for. And it's like sometimes we as people, we go looking for things and we don't know what it is. And we're kind of blindly searching for something. And then we recognize what it is that we're looking for once we found it. So searching blindly was the first part of it,
Mm-hmm.
searching for Daddy in the dark. The second part is my dad, of course. I was searching for someone to fill the void that he left. Um, that was important to me. I wanted to feel something, so I was searching for acceptance. I was searching for love. I was searching for validation. Um, and in the dark, of course, I am legally blind, and because I am legally blind, I get to see the world one half at a time. So half of my world is dark. And so it was really a play on the visual disability that I live with from day to day.
Wow, I never even thought about that or even knew it. I'd never even put that into um never thought about that.
Yep.
The dark that I thought about was completely different. So wow, that's even more profound than I even knew.
Yes, ma'am.
So what are you working on now? Since you like to write and it's therapeutic, I just assume it well, I know that you're doing some writing now. What are you writing?
I am right now working on the Grandma Chronicles. The Grandma Chronicles was born some years ago where my grandmother would say something insane or hilariously funny, and I would put it on Facebook, and people would comment and laugh. And that went on for a while. And it was you who was like, you know what? Maybe this should be your next book. Maybe this is what you should do next. And I thought about it, and I think that would be such a great homage to her. I think it would just be a wonderful thing to just put her words together, because sometimes I don't even think she realizes the crazy things that she says.
Mhm.
And she has her own story, and I wanted the opportunity to make somebody else smile
Wow.
and to share my grandmother's story. So that is what I'm working on right now.
That's amazing. And I can't
Yeah.
wait to receive and to read that because, I know the wisdom that is in our grandparents and in our parents. And it's awesome, I think, when we can capture that. The last interview that I had, prior to this one was my dad. And I've got
Yes.
great feedback, even from you, that, there
Yes.
were just some things that he said that, that helped. And that was his whole premise. He still
Yeah, that was an
wants
awesome interview. It
well,
was an
thank
awesome one.
you. Thank you. He wants everybody in the world to have a copy of that book because he feels like, he feels like people can learn from his life lessons, especially young people, and that's the legacy that he wants to live. But I
Yes.
look forward to Grandma Chronicles. I do.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about Liquinita, what you enjoy when you're not writing. Just, just tell us about you as a person.
Let's see. Me, I am mom first. My girls, even though they are women now, they are the center of my joy. They are my life. They are my everything. I've dedicated my life to them. I'm a little lost now because they are grown and they don't need me as much. And so, since I've been with them forever and
Hmm.
I'm just used to being mom,
Hmm.
I have a lot of time on my hand. And so this part of my life is my own, and it's good. I enjoy listening to music. I love music. I enjoy singing. I'm a 90s head, so I'm kind of stuck back there in the 90s with my 90s R&B and my 90s slow jams. I love that. Of
Okay.
course, I love my gospel music. I love listening to music and spending time in worship. It's not a whole lot. I love also working with visually impaired people, especially visually impaired young people. I have a group on Facebook, Through Our Eyes, and I established it some years ago to connect like young visually impaired or blind individuals, so they will have a safe place or a community to speak freely, to be encouragement, for support. I really enjoy that. That is my passion. Because I don't think people realize the emotional and mental toll that having a disability has on a person and how it impacts a person. A lot of people just look at people with disabilities and see the disability. They don't necessarily see the struggle of the acceptance and finding your place in the world. And so I want to be an advocate for those young people. I want to help other young people get to a place of self-acceptance and self-love, um, with their visual disability. So that is a cause that I hold near and dear to my heart.
Wow.
I'm very active in church. Well, when it was going on, now we kind of at home due to pandemic, but
Hmm.
I enjoy being in church. Woman of God, I try to live my life the best I can, you know, to serve God and to help other people. I just really enjoy doing that.
Awesome, awesome. Well, ministry and service are the two buzzwords that I hear that have come out of that because, not only are you giving back and sharing your story to help others, but to reach back and help youth and make life better for them. That's very powerful. That really is. And so that's commendable. And
Thank
to
you.
now, figure out kind of who you are. It's like, when emptiness hits, it's like we have to pretty much rediscover ourselves and figure out who we are and what we like. And so
Yep.
it was actually when my son went off to college, it was his second year that I really started to write. And that was when my publishing career pretty much took off. So that's been my pastime for the last few years. And so that's been great. That's what I've enjoyed doing. Well, thank
Yep.
you so much for sharing that with us. And I do want to, oh, I'm sorry, I want to remind our viewers that the book does have large print, so that, anyone who does have a visual impairment or just you know, who likes reading larger print. It is that way pretty much throughout. It is in a bold font. And so that's one of the perks of the book as well. And I do want them to know that you are in McCormick and that it's
Yep.
great if they can support the author, get a copy from you and get it personalized and autographed. They can reach out to you on Instagram, and also the book, the link to the Amazon purchasing opportunity is on Hadassah's Crown Publishing. And is there any other contact information that you'd like to give? I know you're on Facebook as well.
Yes, I am on Facebook. Feel free to message me via Facebook. My email is C Liquinita. That's CLIQUINITA at yahoo.com. You can reach me that way. And like she said, via Instagram, you can reach me that way as well.
Awesome.
So,
So I'd like to do another plug for the book. Honestly, it is one of my favorites, Searching for Daddy in the Dark. It is available on Amazon. You can reach it through Hadassah's Crown Publishing, or you can reach out directly to Liquinita to get a copy of it. But it is a recommended read. It's for, I would say, I'm not sure how young I would go, but definitely adults, men and women,
Yes,
whether
men
you're
and women.
married or single, in a relationship or not. I would say, 16. Children know about a whole lot more than we think they know about. But if this can
Mhm.
save somebody some heartache and some heartbreak, then, I think it's a good book for them.
Yes, I agree.
So before we close out, I want to see if there's anything else that you would like to say. I will say that my little gizmo gadget that I've purchased, it's not helping because the mosquitoes are feasting. And so I'm going to be moving it on in the house shortly. I guess I'll have to go back to trying the candles,
Yeah.
spraying. Maybe I'll get the mosquito man to come and see if they do any good. But it's unfortunate because I love it. I love being outside, but I just can't for whatever reason. So
Yeah. Me and the bugs are doing okay. We hadn't had any issues right now. I
okay,
don't think so. Usually I don't find bug bites until after I come from outside.
okay.
So that's how it usually works. But I enjoy being outside as well. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has purchased the book. Thank you to everyone who has called, emailed, sent text messages. I am so grateful for your support and your encouragement. I just want to thank you, Miss Sonia. You have been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, because I have to say this, you guys. I wanted to quit a few times during this
Oh,
process. I'm like, you know what? I'm done. This is it. This I can't do it. I'm not writing today. I have brain freeze. And she was way more than a publisher. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about overhead for her. It was about me birthing this project and getting it done. And she was so supportive and encouraging, and she kept pushing. And I truly thank God for who you are and the heart that you have to help other people get their stories out there and make their dreams come true. I'm so grateful.
wow.
I really am grateful. Thank you so much.
Wow. Well, I greatly appreciate that. And I know that that's from the heart, that's just not something that you say to me because you've
No,
sent a number of people my way and they've all been wonderful to work with. And so I am truly grateful to you for that. I greatly appreciate it. I appreciate you having enough confidence in me and giving me the opportunity to share your story because it's your story. It's near and dear to your heart, and you can't just trust that to anybody. So thank you so much for that. It's been great working with you, getting to know you and your girls and some of your friends and family over the years. Over the couple of years that we've known each other. I appreciate that. And I look forward to working with you on the next book. So we have
thank
more
you.
in store, and we will be back doing another interview once that one is released, and we're going to try to get it out for the holidays. So you
Yes, that's
all,
the plan.
that's right. So get searching for Daddy in the Dark right now if you don't have it, but plan to look for Grandma's Chronicles. Not completely sure of the exact title, or maybe that's it, but that's going to be released before the holidays. So we
Yes,
hope
it
that you
will.
will support this awesome author and woman of God. And before we close, I'd like to say that next week we will have Ro and Mo on. They have a children's book. This is a male and a female who grew up together in what they call the Bottoms in Colombia, and they are going to share their story next week. So thank you all for tuning in. I know that there's a lot of support here for Liquinita because she is such a wonderful, powerful person that anyone would want to support. And there are a million hearts that just keep flooding the feed. So you have some
Thank you,
serious love out
guys.
there. And I know it's your love
Thank you.
because I've done this for 7-8 weeks and I haven't seen that much love out there like that. So that's your love. I'll make sure everybody knows that. So thank you
Thank
all for
you.
tuning in. This series has been wonderful, and we look forward to seeing you next week at 7:30. Thank you again, Laquanita. I pray that you'll have a good night and continue to be blessed.
Thank you, Miss Sonia. You too. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks, everybody.
you. Bye bye.
Have a good night.
You
Bye
too.
bye.